Yeah, yeah, that's weird. You know, when Fabrice asked me if I wanted to talk today, I was very honored. I'm a big fan of what has happened in the French ecosystem, startup and product. So what I started to do, it's like, working on a startup, you start by the name, like finding a name. I was trying to think about what would be my entrance. So I went online and found comedians. I found, an entrance from Gad Elmaleh. And, well, he did kind of what I did, like a dance, and it was in New York. Say, hello, New York. Except people cheered for 5 minutes straight. He couldn't start. People were so amazed. So, kind of disappointed there. I know what you're thinking. Well, you're not getting Malay. True. And we're not here to see a comedian. True as well. And, well, maybe my performance was not, that's great. Maybe. This is something that happened to me a lot in my product career. Trying to get inspired and ending up copying something. You're working on an onboarding experience, and at some point someone shows you something like, you sure this is good? And the person is like, well, that's how Slack does it. Well, sure, but see, we are Slack, we don't have the same brain recognition, and also we are not trying to replace email for people. And well, your experience is good, but it's not exactly as good as what Slack does. So getting inspired by something is very different from copying, and you cannot expect the same result when you are doing something just exactly the same, or when you think you are doing exactly the same. That was my first thing I wanted to share. So, hello everybody. My name is Alexis. I'm very, very happy to be talking today. And I'm going to talk about two things. I built two products in my life. One is Dashlane, Password Manager, Digital Wallet, 2009. Another one is Stonely. It's a platform to build self-serve, human-centered experience. The idea is that you can guide people through onboarding, adoption, success support. 10 years separates these two products. And many things have changed. The ecosystem has changed. I have changed a little bit, gray hair. And I've built this product in a different fashion. And I just want to give you kind of the story of both. And hopefully, I would like two things. If you can get out of this with maybe one practical thing that you can apply, maybe that's the intro, we'll be happy. And I love building product. That's something that I dedicated most of my life doing, professional life. And this is really something that I get inspired by, and I'd love to share that inspiration with you a little bit. So let's go. When you start with ideation. How are you going to build something that people want? And here there are kind of two ways. You start with a big vision, you want to change the world, or you have one problem, very defined, that you want to solve as a puzzle, like a puzzle. So with Dashlane, we started with the vision. What we wanted to do with Dashlane was reproducing the one-click experience from Amazon everywhere. So at that time, Amazon was the only website on which you could, in one click, purchase something. They had your data. And so you didn't have to go through the checkout process or anything. And we were like, what if we build an app where you are going to have all your information and you will be able to do any actions on the web? I'm going to share with you, this is the first prototype of Dashlane. We built that at school. And this was an app. You could put all your information there. And it was doing actions for you. It was checking your bank accounts, checking your commutes. You could buy with it. It was pretty amazing as a concept. Basically an app that would be kind of a personal assistant. It was very hard to do. It could crash your computer in 10 minutes. So not very stable. But this is an actual, it's not just a mock-up. This is actually an actual piece of software that was working. So we started from this, and we encountered two issues. The first issue is that impossible to make it work. At least, with 3 people out of school. The thing is that the web is so different from one website to another, to another, to another, that building something, a semantic engine that could navigate everywhere automatically, for us, that was too complicated. And the second thing is that people didn't even want it. When we were showing that prototype, they were like, oh, OK, that's cool, but I like browsing the web. What I don't like is, at the end, I have to type all this information and over and over again. So we reduced the scope little by little by little and ended up doing, in a sense, a form filler. But it was the best form filler on the planet. I'm sorry, I'm bragging a little bit here, but we had Mozilla, we had Google that came and said, like, hey, how do you do this? And the reason it was the best is that we were not trying to do a form filler. We were trying to navigate. So we were trying to do something that was a lot harder, a lot more complicated. It took us 3 years to launch a product. So that was a long time. With Stonely, it's been different. With Stonely, I started with a very specific use case, a pain that I experienced as I was at Dashlane. We were scaling, and support was very hard because we had people that were on different platforms, people that were with different intent, professional people, personnel. And so it was very hard. Every time we wanted to explain something, we had to give kind of a 5-page article to explain this. And so I wanted to change that and have something that was more dynamic, something that could adapt to people. And I was not able to build that internally because we had other things to do. So I decided to jump ship and build another company that would focus on this, a no-code experience for you to build these experiences. So it was just a small thing, in a sense. It was just, like it's the first example of what we have done that is only on the Dashlane website, where you can select where you are, what is your platform, and based on this, we can solve your problem. And so we started from a use case, but we expanded this. And right from scratch, I wouldn't have left Dashlane with just that thing that would be, in a sense, a feature. I had this idea that if you want to help people, to guide people, you need to take them into account when you explain them things. You need to take their input. You cannot just push the knowledge to them. You need to understand what they are looking for and all this. And so here, in a sense, it doesn't matter. You start with the vision, or you start with the first use case. You need, at some point, to have something common to launch your first product. And with Stonely, it took us 6 months to launch the first product from when we started to having something live. But then it doesn't mean that what we did with Dashlane during these 3 years was not useful. And in a sense, it doesn't matter. It is as long as you're building something that makes sense. So that's how you start. Well, sorry, that's how I started. Then there is kind of what is happening after you launched. So you build something, you get all excited. What happens after? Because when you are starting a new project, working on a new product, the interest for you is very low. I mean, maybe as your friends, maybe as your family, but other than this, nobody knows you. And then you launch, and then if you manage to do things properly, you are going to have a big interest from 1 day, 2 days, a week, some press talking about you, maybe a bit of buzz, but then very, very fast, it actually goes down, and then you're back to, well, a slow curve. So what do you do on the product? Because you have your first iteration. You need to find the product market fit. You try to acquire more people. You try to make the people that you have successful. Dashlane was a B2C product. So at the beginning, sorry, now it's B2C and B2B, but at the beginning it was only a B2C product. And people were using it, and we had maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people that were using it right from scratch because it was easy. You just download and you try it. So we got a lot of feedback about what was working, what was not working, what we could add. And so we worked on building based on this feedback. We work with these people, trying to quantitatively get what are the things that we are getting the most in terms of comments. And so as we did this, growth was not great. And people were telling us, like, hey, you need to find something to get more users. And as I said, I was pretty junior. So I'm going to show you something that I'm pretty ashamed of now. At that time, there was a company called Foursquare. And they were very successful. You know, you could check in somewhere and say, I'm the mayor and everything. And when you were going to VCs, if you were talking about virality, if you were talking about gamification, it's like now if you are talking about crypto and Web3, people are like, yeah, sure, take my money. So they were like, hey, you should build some gamification into Dashlane. You should build something. And so, remember my intro, I built the Dashlane badges. Basically, as you were browsing the web, you could have something that was telling you, great, you have now 10 passwords. Do you want to tell the world that you have 10 passwords into your wallet so that you can brag about this? I'm going to share a little secret with you. Nobody cares about how many passwords you have. But, we were not stupid, arguably. It's something when you are thinking about, when you're in instance desperate for growth, you're like, okay, whatever, I need to find something. It's working for others, it has to work for me. So this is one of the things that we did. And we ended up doing a mix of improving the product and doing these initiatives. Some worked, some didn't work, and up to what we call the Dashlane 2.0, that was maybe our most successful release. I will talk to you about this later. Stonely was a bit different. Because Stonely, we had a very specific use case, and we had people that were very successful with it. So Dashlane was trying it, but we had Backmarket was using it like this, Malt was using it like this, The Violet was using it like this. So we had people that were able to do great support using our tool like this. But what was very difficult was we were talking to people, and they say, yeah, it's a cool concept. OK, you can build interactive stuff, but how do we use it? I mean, I already have an help center. How can I use it in my app? How do I integrate it? And so what we did is that around that concept that was, at the time, interactive step-by-step guides, we built a whole no-code platform that could meet people where they were. And so we built a way for you to build a knowledge base that would be very easy for you to set up with these interactive guides built in. We had also the ability to add the help directly into your product. We added some kind of things for doing product tools, for doing checklists, for doing NPS. So we had a lot of things that will go from one concept, because that was still the concept of being interactive. Everything that we built was using that concept that, hey, it's not just a product tool, me showing you stuff. It's product tool, but you can choose your own path and everything. But we built a platform around this. I think that at that time, where you've launched your first product, you cannot do A/B testing and all of this at scale because you don't have enough people using your product for this. So it's really about being qualitative, working with the first people that finds your product interesting. They don't even need to be users. They need to be people that can exchange with you and give you ideas. You need to be very careful because you can go right, left. It's very, very tough to focus on what is right. But this is probably how you build your first community of people that are going to really enjoy your product. And then you need to scale. So to be able to scale, you need to have done the first part. You need to have product market fit. The reason I'm saying that is that if you try to scale too early, you might spend a lot of money in the wrong direction. And you would say, well, would you do that? In a market, and recently, the market it was easy to get money. You could get money, not easy, sorry, but it was easier to get a lot of money for your ideas. And sometimes having too much money is not good. Because if you have too much money, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to spend a lot of money to acquire users and everything, even though you have not found your market. You've not found the people that are going to really use your product. So you need to be careful about this. Then, how do you scale? Do you optimize everything that you have? Do you diversify your offer? So one thing that's actually, it's a bit painful, but I think that the most impactful features that I ever built was not a feature. It was pricing. At Dashlane was a free product at the beginning. And so we were getting these new users and everything, and we were ready to launch this Dashlane 2.0 that was Dashlane refined. It was really like what we needed to do. Really the first time we had something where we had all the feature set that we thought was great for our customers. 15 days before launching that, we met and we looked at the numbers, the cash that we had left, and said, okay, what is a successful launch? What does it look like? So, we check, oh, we're going to have these kind of users and this and that. And like, okay, but in 8 months, we don't have any money left. And I'm not sure we're able to raise money without like showing something exceptional. Which, by the way, could say like, okay, but why did you have a business model at that time? Well, also, things were different back in the day. Back in the day, there was Foursquare, Facebook, and the idea was get your user first, and then I'll figure out a way to make money. So we were like this. We were trying to build something, get people using the product, and then making money until you don't have enough money to continue. And so we're like, okay, well maybe we need to have people pay. So it was 15 days before launching the new version. So we went to the engineers and say, well, hey, what about that freemium model? Could maybe build that? I was like, yeah, sure. In a month and a half, maybe. It's like, yeah, but I would love to tell you that I told them like, hey, but we are a startup. This is the story that we will tell in the future, that we build things in 15 days and nights. Didn't happen. What we did though is, we offered everyone 30 days of free premium. So you will get Dashlane, and you will have 30 days of free trial. They will give us 15 days plus 30 days, a month and a half. Actually, it took us more time to build it than this. But it's OK because nobody complains when you are giving them free stuff that they should pay. Nobody says like, hey, I should have paid, my trial is finished, and I don't understand, and it still works. Good learning. We launched it at $19.99 a year. And we didn't have a monthly plan. We didn't even know it was existing at that time. There was no monthly plan. And nobody told us that it was expensive. And here's a little secret. If nobody tells you that your product is too expensive, it means it is too cheap. So, we went to $29.99. And we were starting to have enough users to look at data, and we saw no drop in conversion. And that was hard for me, because in a sense, we're like, okay, the most impactful thing is actually changing the price. It's not even a great feature that I would have built. So I went to my team and said, yeah, we need to find the next big thing. What's the next big thing going to be? We walked and walked and walked, and one day I come and have got a great idea. Let's do $39.99. So, there we started to see a little drop in conversion. But we kept it. We kept it because net, it was more or less the same, but it allowed us to position ourselves as a premium product, a product that will have more value. It allowed us to do some partnerships, so it was a good thing. Just for your information, it's almost $60 now, so they continued doing this. So you will think that at Stoneleigh I would have learned my lesson and did that very early on, but actually I didn't. Actually, it's only now that we are raising our price next month. So, by the way, if you want to buy Stoneleigh, it's probably a good month now for you. But it's funny that it took me so much time to accept the fact that, hey, we need to raise price. Because at some point, you're like, will people still buy my product? And we'll see with Stoneleigh story we'll tell, but for Dashlane, it always was the case. In a sense, it doesn't, not that it doesn't matter, but you are always usually considering yourself too cheap. Then optimization. Optimization is a big thing when you're trying to scale, because you start being able to test things. And with Dashlane, we did a lot of quantitative optimization, A/B testing everything. We did so many mistakes. And again, there was one reason for this. Right now, you've got a lot of talks about how you do proper A/B testing. People are sharing a lot, but at that time, people were not doing this, so we had to learn, and we did really, really a lot of bad things. One example is this one. So we were trying to optimize the top of funnel at the beginning. It's good because this is where you have most people coming at the beginning. It's better to optimize first at the beginning of the funnel than at the bottom of the funnel. And this was the Play Store, and so we were changing the images to see if there was a difference in terms of how people would download the application. And here, you might have noticed it or not, but control and test, there is no way I can tell which one is going to win because we changed so many things like the background, adding AS256, changing the shape of the mobile, that no way we could be able to read the results. Actually, we ended up, I think, finishing doing the white version with the AS256 later on. But when you do A/B testing, you need to do it properly. Test one thing after one thing. You need to be dedicated about it. We were not. With Stone, it was a bit different. It's a bit different because we are a B2B product. And B2B product, you would love to do A/B testing all the time, but it's not always easy because you don't have so many people that can help you do that. So you are going to use data, but in a different way. You are going to use data in a more qualitative way. What people are successful do, what people are not successful do, and how can I adapt my product for this? For us, for instance, one thing, and so we use our product to do it, but is that we had people that were coming first for knowledge base of our product tour or of an NPS, and so showing them the overall platform was not good to start with. We needed first to make them successful with what they wanted to do. You want to do a knowledge base? We are going to build a great knowledge base for you. And then we will expand and try to tell you about the overall platform and the nice things you can do in your product and everything. You want a product tour? Good, best product tour. You can do it. That was super useful for us to understand how people were reacting to our product. But it was more qualitative. Now, brand recognition. Brand recognition is cool. It's how you start being like, hey, we are something where we are the real stuff. So with Dashlane, big strategy for us was the App Store. We wanted to be put in front of the App Store. So we worked very hard. And it was really a product work to be featured by Apple, to be featured by Google. The way we did that is we played by the book with the guidelines. We came to them and we say, we want to be the app that you can put in front of your customers to say, this is how you build a good app on our platform. And so we got editor's choice on Apple, Google, on the Play Store. We were featured a couple of times. And another optimization was getting great ratings. How do you get great ratings? I love to tell you, you build a great app, and that's the reason. There's a little bit of this, but I have to say that it's also engineered. The thing is that when you have a lot of people using your app, you know that some are successful, some are not successful. So you're going to ask the people that are successful to rate your app, because at some point you know who they are, and you prefer to ask people that are going to give you 5 stars than the other one. And also, it went further, because every time you release something, your stars are going back to 0. So you need to have a motion where you ask people at a certain time, but not too often, because otherwise they get pissed and they tell you, like, I'm fed up rating this app. So we had something on a rolling basis, asking people that were successful with our product to rate our product. That was a bit engineered. It was not cheating. I mean, there are real people voting to our product. It's just that we're asking the people we know like us. It's like a 360 at your company. You ask people that like you to say good thing about you. It's like referral call. It's a bit different. We are trying to show ourselves as experts. We've worked a lot on how you can share knowledge with people. So we are creating a ton of content. We are working on demand gen. We are doing talks like this. I mean, I'm not talking about Sony, but you know, saying like, hey, we're the real deal. So working on branding is a way for people to, it's a long process, to little by little be in the space and be considered as a company that means something. And then diversifying. For Dashlane, we went from B2C to B2B. Oh, a funny thing. One thing that is like, you know, the sentences that do not age well. Well, here's one. Here's me at a board meeting, coming, explaining the strategy about us going to B2B and saying, well, and the best part, is that 90% of our product is already built for B2B. We only have to add an admin console, and that's it. I think they're still not done. It was like 5 years ago. It's like, don't think that you can just say, oh, yeah, sure. It's easy to diversify. It's pretty hard. You're launching something new. And the reason I didn't know that we were missing things about this, because I didn't know nothing about B2B. I have never worked on it, and there was many complexities that I didn't know. We did some strategic partnerships also that was pretty good for us, being able to work with brands that will promote us, we'll do rev share and stuff like this. First of all, it's really about getting up market. What we are seeing is that, and this is something that we are still doing at the moment, by the way. It's really, we started with a self-serve motion, saying, okay, we have SMBs trying our product, and they can do it and pay on their own. But now we start having bigger customers, and so we are bringing on a service that can be used by enterprise-grade companies. So, all the things like SSO, certification, and all this. One thing about scaling is that this is not something that is powered by gut feeling. It's not you coming one day and saying, hey, I've got a great idea, we're going to do that, it's going to be great. No, you look at the data, you have the data, you start having, you need to be a little bit more adult about how you do things. And this can be a very tough moment, because it feels like you're losing a little bit of creativity. And I think that there's something I'm trying not to reproduce at Stoneleigh that I did at Dashlane that was bad in terms of product, is that at some point I was so focused on the matrix, I was so focused on getting that scale that I lost the sight of what we wanted to do at the beginning, the vision. I would have loved Dashlane to go and become this assistant that could solve anything for you on the web, because he was having all your personal information, he could navigate for you automatically. That would have been great. Anyway, maybe one closing thought about what is the main difference? What is the main thing that changed for me between my first experience and my second? I think the main thing is that at Stoneleigh, I didn't cut corners. And there are many things. If there's one advice I can give you, it's just a piece of advice, but it's when you're working on your product, at the beginning there are things that are easy, that are going to be tough to solve later. Working on the quality, refactoring often, doing things the right way at the beginning is a lot easier than when you have 5 years and you have debts. And debts is not only code. It can be quality also in terms of how you're working on your product. It can be culture debt. It can be security. It can be many things. There are many things that if you start, security, you start doing well at the beginning, then it's in the culture and everybody is going to be trained by it. If you do that after, it's going to be very tough to catch up. So, yeah, I think that's what I want to present today. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Alexis. The first question is actually, I think, the most interesting one. Someone really followed your talk. It's someone called Jamel Debbouze who is asking, where is Gad Elmaleh?
Yeah. It's a friend. It's a friend of mine. We hang out sometime. But I told him I didn't have time this time.
So the Xav asking, could we get Stoneleigh for $20.99 because we know now?
No, because it's not exactly the same product. It's a B2B grade product, but don't focus on the cost. Focus on the value. It's not about what it's going to cost you. It's going to be all the time that you're going to save, and everything that's going to be great thanks to it. That's the important part.
So, serious question from Ayesa. How do you prevent the risk of massive churn if you raise your pricing that often?
Yes. First of all, we did not raise the price for current customers, grandfather them. It was only for new customers. And this is actually a great question because this is an important point. When we turned Dashlane from free to paying product, we wrote to all our customers customers, users. And we told them that it was going to be a paid product. But we told them, look, you've been our first customers. And we are doing this because we need to survive. But every feature that you have had until now is going to remain free for you for life. And if you want, you can give us a little bit of money to support us. And if you give us more than $60, then you will also get all the updates for free forever. And in 2 days, we got $250K, which for a company that had no revenue was a big game changer. So yeah, I mean, your first users, you need to treat them well. They are the people who are going to be very helpful every time talking about you and building your brand.
How do you build a product from scratch if you have no money, VC, resources, and people to help you?
Well, you do it by yourself. I mean, the thing is that, first of all, it depends. If you really, really have nothing, no one can develop nothing, then before building your product, you need to find a way to validate what you want to do. Let's say you want to do, I don't know, an app that will put people in contact to exchange services. Well, at the beginning, you don't need an app. You just need someone that can send an email to say, I need that. And then you do the work yourself. You have people registering. So you need to hack the thing to validate that there is value to your product before building it. So you save some time. Or you find another way. I'm going to tell you about Stonely, actually. I mean, I'm more of a product guy, but when I left Stonely, I asked one guy to build Stonely with me. He was an engineer, and he said no. And I built the beginning of Stonely myself. I had a little bit of engineering background, but I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start myself. And as I am starting, I'm going to be able to find someone that is going to help me. And that's how it started. And then I recruited some engineers, and that was actually pretty fun. I mean, for me personally, to be able to do this. So.
Okay. At Dashlane, how did you prioritize B2C request versus B2B?
So when we launched B2B, we had already a B2C crawl. And when I said there are two different products, it's true, but to some extent, you had some things that are going to benefit both, some things about quality and all this. Now, it was very hard. It was still very hard because you need to find what is your priority. And that's where, as a company, you need to have clear vision. What is our objective now? It needs to be very clear so that every time you are talking about feature, you don't have to have the discussion over and over and over again. When we launched B2B, we said, look, we're not sacrificing B2C, but innovation and the things that we need to catch up, it will be on B2B first. And so every time we had the discussion, we knew where we were going to do. We also had more people, so we had people that could focus a little bit of B2C, and most of people were focusing then on the B2B track.
How has the product market fit concept and the way to achieve it evolved in 10 years?
Woo! Well, first of all, I don't remember thinking about the product market fit at Dashlane at all. I was just thinking about, hey, I want people to use my app. And, but I think in a sense, you could argue that the concept has always been the same. In a sense, you need, on the one hand, you need enough people that are interesting into your product, so they are feeling the pain that you're trying to solve, and they think you are the right solution with it. And on the other end, you're able to prove that the people that are using your solution are actually solving the pain that you are saying you are solving. That, what has evolved, in a sense, in the 10 years, is the fact that now we are putting words on things. We have people that tell you this is important, this is what you need to find. This is how you need to work. And this is very, very helpful because you can read, even if you are starting, you know nothing about nothing, you've got a ton of people that can help you, that have written about these topics. And you can use that to get knowledge that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Okay. How come you realize your mistakes only later? Nobody at Dashlane were telling you that. How to convince a founder to trust the ability of his team?
So, it's a tough one. First of all, the mistakes are always easier to find after because until this is a real mistake, you don't know about it. The badge is, yes, nobody told me that it was a bad idea, but I don't think nobody knew at that time that it was a bad idea. Now, there is convincing the founders of changing their vision, but if I take my case, there is also, as a founder, you need to be careful about the team that you're recruiting and the ownership you are giving to them. At Stonely, it happens a lot that I get my mind changed because I trust my team, I trust the people I've recruited. And that is something, by the way, in what I've changed in at Dashlane and at Stonely is I'm recruiting in a slower way at Stonely, but I'm recruiting people earlier, meaning that I don't wait to need people to recruit them. I recruit them when I've got an opportunity. And one of the big mistakes that I've made in recruitment at Dashlane is that sometimes I needed someone and I recruited that person because I needed the person right now, and this was not the right person for the job, and the job was not the right fit for the person. But I needed the person, and I thought, yeah, you know. And you are accumulating debt by this. So, sorry, to get back to the question, I mean, if you want to convince a founder that the founder is wrong, my advice would be very fact-driven. Come prepared about, like, here's what you're suggesting. Here are all the reasons why this is wrong.
Do the right thing from the start often costs more time and contrast with get fast feedback. How to find the balance?
Between what and what, sorry?
Between doing the right thing from the start and having fast feedback.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's a good question. To be honest, that's something that I don't think it's a trade-off. Actually, you think it's a trade-off because it feels like it's hard now because you are trying it now, but at the beginning, it's not. The first employee of Stonely was a woman working on QA. We recruited her for two reasons. Why? Because that person was a perfect fit. She was exactly what we wanted in terms of people that would be the foundation of the company. And also because we thought, okay, we want to have quality in our product. And the way you can have quality on our product, without having to spend a lot of time, is to build automation. So she joined. There was not much to test at that point. So what she did is she built the whole automation testing environment so that every time you ship something, you get tests that are running automatically. And if you think about it, when you release something, if you have an issue and you discover that issue 3 weeks after, getting back on the topic, fixing it and everything, it's going to cost you a lot. When you are developing it, if this issue is caught, then you are going to fix it right away and it's not going to take you time. So my take is that doing things properly from scratch does not reduce your velocity, it actually increases it.
Rémi Guyot asking, who is the most inspiring founder for you?
Why? That's great. Great question. And I don't know how much of an inspiration it is, but there is one company and one person that I really enjoy. It's Andy. You know Andy probably if you do some meditation because he's the guy talking on the Headspace app. I love that guy. He had something that he was passionate about. He wanted to share that with the world. He wanted to build a company that was mindful, that was a good company for people outside, for people inside. And he built something that is a phenomenal business, that is doing good to the world, I think. And that is a very high quality product. If you ask me one product I would have loved to build, Headspace. It's great. I mean, you get there. It's a great experience for you as you are getting little by little into meditation. So, Andy, I think.
And the last one is from Michael Jackson.
All right.
Can you do your little dance again?
Of course. Something. It was improvised.
Well, thank you a lot, Alexis.
Thank you, everyone.